Hey everyone, it's Melody Hager, Miss Statesville with
Airswicks.
and it's Music Therapy Mondays, and today we have a very special guest. Her name is Hailey Lepski. I'm saying that right? Did I do good?
Yep, you got it.
Awesome. And so before we get into our segment, I just want to give a few updates on my end regarding the music therapy world. I've got two special things going on that I'm plotting. Hit some roadblocks, but we are moving along past them. One should be by the end of this year for the Christmas season, and I'm planning another event for the 2020 upcoming winter season. So fingers crossed that everything works out the way that it should and that we're able to get some things done and some music therapists paid. So that's some updates that I have on my end. Ms. Eris, do you have anything to share with us? How's work? How's doing everything out in California? Are you surviving?
Thanks for asking. Thanks for asking. Yes, I am surviving. Here, I'm just still applying for grad school, trying to hold it down, studying for the MT-BC. I actually recently took it, and I got 91 out of 95, which means I didn't pass, but I'm pushing forward to take it again.
More chances.
Another time, Thank you for your support. Yes, that's actually one of the questions I'm going to ask you about, Hailey, but that's for later. But yeah, other than that, though,
exactly.
Yes, more chances to get it right. Just more things that I want to keep learning because I'm not studying for the test. I'm studying for life. I want to have these things in my arsenal all the time. Shout out to my sister. She told me that. She gave me that little piece of information. So yeah, that's what I'm doing over here.
Wow. That's actually a really, really great way to file that away. That's great advice. Yeah. You have a very wise sister.
Thank you. She's the best.
That's awesome. You have more chances to take it. It's like any other standardized test. You have to have like a baseline and then you know where to jump off from there. That's what I tell my kids in learning support department at the school that I teach at. The first one, if you do great, that's awesome. If it's not where you want it to be, you know where your baseline is and it's only up from there. So we're proud of you. You got
exactly.
This.
Thank you.
Of course. So that being said, I figured since you and Hailey are friends and I guess you guys went to school together, if you wanted to sort of introduce her and start off with the interview and get that ball rolling. I'm super excited.
Me too. Okay, everyone. So this is the wonderful Hailey MT-BC. Oh yeah, y'all. She passed that young test. Hailey and I met at Berklee, and we actually had a practicum together. I think it was practicum 3, and I was able to watch her just blossom into this wonderful music therapist, and she's so inspirational to me. And yeah, I'm gonna let her give you a little bit of background by starting with our first question. So our first question for you, Hailey, is what is your background like? Like, what was your upbringing like, and what was your education like before you discovered your passion for music therapy?
Yeah. So I grew up right outside of Baltimore, Maryland, in like a normal suburban kind of town. Just me and my parents. And I think music was always just a part of who I was. Like, I remember always having music on. I love to dance. I love to like dress up. And my first like venture into music was actually doing dance, but it just never stuck. Like I started with ballet and some like jazz dancing, but it just wasn't really for me. And I was really, really privileged to have just a ton of really great music educators in my life. Like when I think back to where I am now, I had amazing music educators every step of the way. My elementary general music teacher was just the most talented woman, like could get any kid into music no matter what. And then probably the most like pivotal moment in my life was I actually started playing viola, like when you could first choose an instrument. And I was so bad at it. It wasn't for me. I was so bad. In the concerts, I would like be pretending to play, but I think inside of me, I knew like I really want to do this. I love being part of a group. And my mom still talks about this to this day. She called up the instrumental music teacher and she was like, hey, is it going to take her like a little bit to catch up? Because it was like a quarter of the way into the school year and I wanted to stick with it. And everybody else had already gotten their band instruments. And the teacher said, it won't take her long to catch up. And my mom she still talks about that, and that teacher sat down with me, she took time with me, and I picked out clarinet, and like the rest is history. And then just every step along the way I had really amazing teachers. I had great private lesson teachers. I had the opportunity to attend the Peabody Prep program through Johns Hopkins University when I was in high school, and I had some really great teachers there. And then I even attribute me getting into Berklee because of my teachers. I went to the Berklee 5-week, and there I met my teacher, Harry Scholar, and he just believed in me. Berklee 5-week was actually one of like the most stressful experiences of my life. I did not like it at all. I cried at Berklee 5-week. I wanted to go home, but he believed in me. And then I did my audition for Berklee in Baltimore, and not even knowing, I went into the audition room and Harry was there. And
Wow.
and he said, I know this girl, she's awesome. And I don't think I probably would not have gotten into Berklee without him. So that was really where I found my passion for music, was just awesome teachers.
Oh, that's so wonderful to hear how impactful teachers were in your career. Melody's actually a teacher, so it's so wonderful to see.
That's awesome. I love
That's awesome. The music educators are so unbelievably underappreciated. One of my now best friends in this organization, Miss Gastonia, is a music teacher, and she's teaching middle schoolers. So I know that she's having the same impact on them that your teachers had on you. So that is so important. It goes to show that music education changes lives, and it's so important. It needs to be funded, but that's another topic for another day.
Absolutely. Wow. That's really cool how you started with dance too. Like, music isn't everything, but like to see how you went from dance to the different teachers and then to Berklee and now where you are today, that's just wonderful. Okay, so for our next question. So you're now a music therapist and you started as a musician. So what inspired you to get into music therapy specifically?
Yeah, so I heard about music therapy. I don't think I knew what music therapy was. I didn't know what music therapy was until like my junior year of high school, and I went to a summer music program, and one of my friends there, who I'm actually still friends with now, and he's a music therapist now in North Carolina, and and he said, yeah, I'm planning on going to school for music therapy, and I was like, oh, tell me more about that. But what really drove me into music therapy was and back to my awesome teachers, I was in a mentorship program in high school, and my mentor did an internship with me at a program called Orc Kids, which is through the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra, and they bring instrumental music programs into schools in Baltimore City. And I was working in a school that is in one of the most dangerous parts of the city, kids who have very difficult home lives. And I got to work with kids, and I got to see how much music could bring to someone's life, and almost how simple it is, that music is just something that we all connect with, we all need in our life. But it was also there where I was like, I don't know if I can do music education. I don't know if I can put a grade on something. I don't know if I can hold this standard, but I really love just being in the music with the kids and just connecting through that.
Yes. Wow. That is really cool. So this program that you worked with that allowed you to work in like in the part of the city that had a lot of children who were dealing with like really difficult home lives. What was that with again?
It's called Orc Kids.
Orc Kids.
So like orchids like the flower, but kids with a K. Yeah, and it's through the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra. And they're the conductor of that orchestra, Marin Alsop, is really, really great, and she loves the city of Baltimore, and she really tries to give back as much as she can. And that program it's absolutely amazing. And I actually have friends who were brought up through that program who are now professional performing musicians. And that's where they started. It was in that program. So it's an awesome program.
Wow. Yeah, that's really cool. I had never heard of that. Thanks for sharing about that. That's really cool.
That's amazing.
All right. That is so amazing. So for our next question, this is going to help me out. Okay. What was taking the CVNT like for you, and how did you freaking study?
Okay. Oh my God.
Like, all right, here we go.
Okay. So I'm a little bit blessed. I'm a decent test taker. I will say I'm a decent test taker. I know some people struggle more with test taking and like that situation, like more than others. But if I can just, I mean, it wasn't that complicated, like studying for it. I think it was pretty basic, same as most people do. I started about halfway through internship. I started studying, which not everybody agrees with that. I've heard a lot of different things about when people want to start studying. Some people like to just focus on internship and then do studying after. My internship, I had like some downtime during the day. I would have breaks during the day, and I just started studying about halfway through. I would take half an hour a day and just start looking over the material. And then I just gradually increased it as it got closer to the end. I was pretty firm on wanting to take the test like right away too. And yeah, I read the textbooks. My internship supervisor gave me a ton of books and also materials that she had used to study. Like she gave me some of her notes, and I did the practice exams. But I like what you said earlier, Eris, about like, it's not about studying for the test. It's about studying for life. And it's not a knowledge-based test at all. Like when I see people talking about it and talking about what vocabulary can I study, what, this can I study and that, and does anybody have a specific document about this? There's no specific document you can use to study for this test other than the practice test they sell on their website. Those are the best resource though, and it's really a thinking test. I would compare it to like the SATs, where it's not a test of your knowledge, it's a test of thinking. It's a process-based test. So the more you can practice getting into that clinical headspace, the better that you're gonna do. But I would say like if you're going through internship, just really breaking things down that you're doing, like if you're doing an intervention, break it down and try to see if you could like turn it into a test question in your head, break it down and say, what's the clinical thinking behind this? And that'll get you through the test. And then my test strategy on test day was I saved all of the music theory questions for last, because I liked doing all of the music therapy questions first, because that's one type of thinking, and then all the theory questions, because that's a completely different type of thinking. So yeah, split it up however you want. But it's a thinking based test. I don't think there's like specific knowledge that you can study for it.
Got you. Yeah, I totally agree. It is a thought-based test, because when I took it, I noticed that there were just so many questions that were asking about like studies and questions that were asking about like statistics. And I was like, what? Like, where did this come from? But you're so right. Like if you section it out, you can almost train your brain to focus on different things at different times for that test. So that's And I'm glad you debunked it. You know, it's not just like, okay, like this is the vocabulary that will have you passing the test 100%. Like it's a lot of different levels to it.
Yeah, because there's going to be words on there that you've never seen in your whole life. And especially we all do in different internships. We all work with different populations. And I've been working with kids forever. That's always been what I've done. I don't know much about like, you know, working in hospice or working with older adults, that kind of thing, but that's on the test.
Right.
And even if you've never experienced it, you have to be able to apply your knowledge to it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, for our next question. So how has music therapy changed your life, and how has music therapy inspired you?
Music therapy inspires me every day. Every day when I go to work, I feel inspired. And I think one word that has come up a lot with the teachers is this word special. That music therapy is really special. It's different. And in one of my classes, they had a new student, and I said, "Hey guys, can you tell the new student why do you have music class and Miss Hailey's group? Why do you have both? What's the difference?" And they couldn't really put it into words, but they said things like, you know, we get together and we make music together and we talk and we, you know, these things that are just different from music education, or different from passive listening at home, watching YouTube videos, that kind of thing. And it's just like a very special thing. And, you know, I hear things like, that student doesn't talk except for when you come in, or, you know, oh, he never wants to do X, Y, Z, but when you're here, he's really engaged. And those are the things that are inspiring for me, just hearing what's happening as a result of what I'm doing, or hearing that the kids are really making progress or really connecting with it.
That's great. So I don't think I asked you before, what are you doing right now? You said you have a new job in Albany. That's amazing. Congratulations. So what are you doing? Where are you at?
Yeah, so I'm working for a private practice in the Capital Region, upstate New York. And I work in a few different school districts doing, they call it music enrichment, is the program. And so I do music therapy groups for elementary through middle school, all over the region. I see some kids individually, and then I also see private clients, and I also see adults with disabilities in group homes. And yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Wow, that's really exciting. So you said the whole region. That's a big area.
Yeah, if anybody here is watching that knows upstate New York,
yes,
I serve Albany and Troy, New York, New York upstate Capital Region.
Awesome. Yes, hit her up, guys. She's great.
Is the school district paying for that?
Sorry?
Is the school district paying for that? Are there funds that are allocated specifically?
So yeah, and it's really exciting because I moved from Maryland, where that sort of program doesn't really exist in public schools. This is you know, funded through the public schools, city schools as well, which is really impressive. And yeah, I serve the city schools. I serve some suburban school districts as well, but yeah, it's really exciting. School district is funding it as a educational enrichment program.
What's your age range? So I heard you say elementary. Is that just about it? Is it sort of like K through 5, or are you doing middle and high school as well?
Yeah, I serve K through 8.
Right.
And pre-K as well.
How long has the program been going on for? Because my question is, I want to see, as these kids graduate, scores, their grades, their emotional well-being compared to their peers who are not going through programs like this and who aren't experiencing programs like this, because that's the data. That's what you go into to different school systems across the country and say, here's this piece of paper that shows that these kids are performing better academically, emotionally, mentally, like that. the work that you do is going to literally change their lives and help with their brain development. So that's super exciting that you're going to be able to have those numbers eventually.
Yeah, it is super exciting too, because right now it's in special education classrooms. But I would be really excited to see it move into the general education setting, and in those inclusion classrooms, and not just the self-contained classrooms, because I can see how much the kids enjoy it, but then I also see when I walk into the school and the other classroom, the classroom next door, saying like, they have music class now, and I walk into the school and they say, is that a guitar? And they're so excited about it. And yeah, I'm just really excited to see what happens in the future here, because it has such a great presence here that it doesn't have in other states.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that really is. I'm so excited for you. Yeah. Okay, so since you're at your new job, have you started doing any other jobs in tandem with this one, or are you focusing gung ho on this one?
Yeah, so this is my only job right now, but I have had other like jobs in the past. Before I got this job, and when my previous music therapy job was declining because of COVID, I was doing some nannying, which I think is a really awesome job if you want to work with kids to, like as a resume builder, like to do some nannying. And yeah, that's what I've done. Like in college, I also did nannying, and I was like a home health aide as well. And that's sort of like been my go-to over the past few years for like a side job.
Yeah, that's awesome. So speaking of COVID, how has COVID like really impacted your experience as a music therapist?
Yeah, I mean, COVID changed everything for me, really. I had a job in Maryland, and pretty much as soon as things shut down, my job was basically gone. And I had to take a second job, and I'm sure like a lot of us, I was going through a dark time. You know, I think a lot of us experienced that, where we just sort of weren't sure what was going to happen, and you know, things were just really hard, and they still are. So I knew I had to do something, and I sort of hit this breaking point where I really only had a few clients left. I was nannying. I was really just unhappy with my life, and I went on like LinkedIn, and I was like, places are hiring right now. You know, people are hiring music therapists, so why not? And I spread myself far and wide. I spread my resume as far as like I applied in Denver and Minnesota and North Carolina and Albany, and I just said I have to do something. And I got this job, and I moved here, and I'm back doing what I love. And you know, it might change. It could change at a drop of a hat, honestly. But I'm happy that I did something, and at least, you know, for now, I'm back doing what I love.
Yes. Yeah, your adaptability is so inspiring. And I know that that's one of the core principles in being a music therapist. You have to adapt. And speaking of that adaptability, have you had any experience with telehealth? I know that's a whole new thing for us. Like, what the heck is going on?
I have been doing sessions via telehealth, like Zoom and Google Meets and stuff. And it's interesting. I mean, it's been an interesting experience, and I think at first people were really like, they were so excited, and they're like, woo, telehealth, you know, and people were kind of acting like they really knew what to do, and they had all these ideas. And some people have been doing telehealth even before, you know, before all this happened. So
right.
It was really interesting actually to hear from those people who were like, I've been doing this for years. But I think people were, you know, getting really excited, but it is really hard, and it's so different. And, you know, you don't have that same connection, and it's definitely a learning curve. But I think over the past, you know, several months, I've gotten a little bit better at figuring out like what translates through telehealth and what doesn't. Because certain things translate really, really well, and certain things just absolutely don't. And then there's certain things that you can do on telehealth that you can't do in person. I had a really fun song for Halloween. It was the Five Little Pumpkins song, and it was if you know, it's whoosh went the wind and out went the light. The kids and I had so much fun covering our cameras and making it dark and saying, "Oh, out went the light." And that's something that I was like, I wouldn't be able to do that in person. We wouldn't be able to do something like that, but it was so fun and everybody's cracking up. So yeah, there's some stuff that really works and there's some stuff that doesn't. And it's been interesting figuring it out. Interesting, frustrating, but fun, just depends on the day, depends on what you're trying to do.
Yes, I can totally agree with that. Yeah, my experience with telehealth, especially during internship, it was fun, but it definitely was a huge learning curve. Like you had to just completely figure out a whole new way of thinking as far as like what interventions you're going to pull out, how you're going to keep people engaged, how you're going to include those who don't necessarily always jump right in. So I can definitely feel you on that.
Yeah, it's definitely harder for those who I work with kids, and my work now is very activity based. We sort of have our schedule of we're doing XYZ. We have a theme. It's educational enrichment too. It's not therapy per se. So I can sort of go boom, 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 boom down the list of songs and say, all right, this is what we're doing. Whereas other people, I think it's much harder to be therapeutic. To really do the therapy work via telehealth, because you're just not there with the person. There's technology issues, there's things lagging, and that's where I found more challenges. Is not really doing the groups where I'm doing activities, but doing the therapy where I'm trying to like connect or trying to make sure that someone's doing something, making sure, oh, did you say that word, or did you make that sound, or what are you doing, are you pointing to this or that,
right.
That is where it's a lot harder.
Yes, I can totally agree.
Before I was a teacher, I did early intervention, and I was doing early intervention when COVID dropped. And so one day I'm in the homes with my kids, I'm in their childhood development centers, and then the next day we're doing this, and they're 0 to 3, so they're babies. Some 4-year-olds, and that, as much as I loved seeing them like this, it was so difficult because I had to do, because the point of early intervention is to have the parent do a lot of this as well and to document what the parent is doing and sort of coaching. It was so difficult because not being there to be able to facilitate that, I feel that so hard because because there's so many things that get lost in translation on Zoom. So my heart definitely goes out to you when you're doing those telehealth sessions. It can definitely present a challenge.
100%. The assessment is so different. It's a whole new world, Okay, so I think we'll wrap up with this last question, unless you have any more, Melody. But this last question I have is, so what do you think you can take away from this time in the pandemic? Like, what is your biggest new music therapy takeaway?
I think the biggest thing that I have taken away from this is to kind of just let go. And I think especially like newer music therapists, I mean, I've only been doing this for like a little over a year now. And I used to get really wrapped up in like these big concepts for the intervention. Like, okay, we're going to do this, and we're going to have this whole thing and all these visuals and all these manipulatives. And like, the things that have been most successful are like movement songs. The kids love it. Clap your hands, stomp your feet, pat your lap. Those really just simple things. And my thought process has just really shifted from like, what are they going to learn and what are they going to gain, to what do the kids really need? right now? Do they need to have new information? Do they need to be challenged? Or do they need to be kids? Do they need to have fun? Do they need to relax? Do they need to have a chance to interact with their peers? Because so many of them haven't had fun in the way that kids need to have fun in so long. And now, like, the best thing that I can hear at the end of a session is, wow, that was really fun. Because so many of us and so many of the kids just haven't had fun in a long time. And so now my sessions, I just try to make them really enjoyable and really pleasant. And, we're always learning, we're always goal oriented, but that's not like the number one thing anymore. That's like number 1.5. Mm-hmm. and the number one is, are we connecting? Are we regaining that like sense of humanity and that sense of fun that we haven't gotten to have in a long time? Mm-hmm. And I'm so much more relaxed about the sessions now. I let them be, I let it breathe. Mm-hmm. And I just try to be that friendly face in the day, and give everybody a chance, because you see it too if you work in schools or if you're working with families. You can see it on the teachers' faces too. You can see when the teachers are like, they just go like, or when the teachers are dancing, or when the teachers are playing instruments, and it's like, wow, that they've been having a hard day, a hard week, and now they're just having fun. So yeah, I think the important thing for all of us, and for yourself too now, is just to let go and give everyone some breathing room and let everybody just have fun.
That is beautiful. And it's so wonderful to hear how you're there for everybody, including yourself. That's huge, especially right now. It's so important always to fill your cup, but to be able to share with others as you're filling yourself up, that is huge. That is huge. Thank you so much, Hailey. I've been having fun, Miss Hailey, okay?
Thank you.
It's been so much fun learning from you and hearing about your experience, and you're so inspirational, seriously. Like, to have known you in school and then to see where you are now, it's just, I'm so happy for you, just to see all these things happening for you and hearing your experience.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Anything from you, Melody?
So I had a few little questions. Let's see. So I want to know about music therapy and you. I saw your Instagram account that you were doing with, it looks like a friend of yours. I think her name is Kelly. So I just wanted to know a little bit more information about that so that we can plug that and spread the word, because it seems that you are all about community engagement for young professionals in the music therapy industry. So take it away.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my friend Victoria and I started. Yeah, Victoria Kelly.
I was like, where did I get Kelly?
We started that Instagram account just like for fun. We don't really post to it like all that often. But it was just kind of a place for us to like share things that we were thinking about, or Instagram account for like new professionals or like interns. And so we just wanted to make one. And so we did. We don't post on it like super frequently or anything, but yeah, it was just like our
Sorry, go ahead. It was your little what? It froze a little bit.
Froze.
Oh, did I freeze?
Yeah, you froze a little bit. Like that last half of what you were saying.
Okay. But yeah, it was just our like fun. It's our fun little project that we do every once in a while. And yeah.
Super cool. That's going to be a good outlet too, because that can definitely be a resource for a lot of people who are trending the tags, but also for you and Victoria to be able to sort of have that outlet, to be able to express those things that you're wanting to be able to convey to the music therapy world. So that's super neat. So I'll be sure to have all of my people keep up with your stuff. I'll share your posts. I'll make sure to spread the word because that's super important, especially the next generation of music therapists. It's a field that not a lot of people know about. And so you guys are trailblazing it, both you and Eris and Victoria. I mean, that's super neat and people need to be able to know about it. So that's awesome. And you talked about working with the kiddos. So I guess my last question is, what is your favorite activity to do in your sessions? And since we talked about telehealth, maybe a telehealth activity that you find translates well, and then an activity that you like the best or that you see works the best for your kiddos when you're able to be there in person.
I think with telehealth, anything with like visuals works really well with telehealth. Like I said, like the pumpkins where you can like cover the camera, or there is a really fun song from Stephanie Level from Music for Kiddos. She's my favorite like account. And she has a really fun shaker song where you shake your shaker and then you hide it, and she like hides it off screen. And I was doing that, and I was having the kids say, I would like put it behind me. In my office, I have a piano behind me, and I would be like, is it up here? And they'd be like, it's on the piano. So like anything really visual is awesome on telehealth. And then my favorite in-person activities, I love a drum circle. And I would say I like a more extended activity. Like I like stuff that kind of fills the session with like one thing. And I like things that like progress. So like I was doing drum circle with my kids today, and it's like the first one, we just play for 10 seconds and stop. And then eventually we build it up. And then a really fun one that all my kids absolutely loved recently was the friendship rap. And I brought in, it's from, is it from Wholesome Harmonies? I think it's from the friendship rap activity. And it was just like a really simple rap beat, and I had a bunch of cards with different characteristics of a good friend, and we just rapped like, a good friend is kind, a good friend is helpful. And the community that I serve, a lot of the kids really love like rap music, and that's what they listen to at home is like rap and hip hop. And so they just loved it. And I could see like a lot of the kids are like, oh, I listen to rap at home, or I listen on the car, I listen to hip hop radio. And so it was something that was like familiar to them and really, really fun.
Nice. Oh, I'm glad you're able to find the things that work in those different settings, because I'm sure that the kids appreciate it. And bringing it to where they are is super important. They have to be able to relate to it for it to be able to have any kind of impact. That's so important.
And if you're like a young white woman, let me tell you, they love to be like, oh my gosh, you're gonna do a rap. And then when it's like a really corny one about friendship, then they're like, oh my gosh, you're so silly. And it loosens everybody up a little bit. Then they're more prepared to like put themselves out there, because you're like, look at me, I did it.
That's awesome.
Especially with like if you work with middle schoolers and they don't want to do anything.
The middle school apathy is real.
It's real.
Well, thank you so much, Hailey, for joining us and for answering all these questions and giving testimony to your experience of what it's like to be a budding and new professional in the music therapy industry during COVID. That's crazy.
Yes. Absolutely.
Do you have any socials that you want to share before we close out so that we can spread the word? If you have your Instagram handle ready.
Yeah, so our Instagram is Music Therapy and You, and you can check that one out. And then I just have a personal Instagram account. But yeah, that's it. You can add me on LinkedIn. That's really all I have is just my music therapy Instagram, at Music Therapy and You. And then you can also find me on LinkedIn.
Awesome. And I think it's this way, because I pointed this way on the last
right,
but I pointed the wrong way. So I'm going to point this way, and I'm hoping that it's going to point to you this time to find Eris. You can find her at...
You can find me at Eris, EIRESSS, or you can find me at e.lovesmusictherapy. That's my music therapy Instagram. And yeah, you can find Melody at
You can find me at Miss Statesville_NC for my Miss Statesville official account, and you can also find me on Miss Statesville on Facebook. And you also have a YouTube channel. You have your E-Loves Music Therapy YouTube.
You're right. See, she's the best, y'all. She's right.
That's what their social media is.
Thank you. She's right. I have a YouTube. It's Eris, the future music therapist, because we're on the road.
It's gonna happen. I'm proud of you. It's gonna happen in the near future. It's gonna happen. But thank you so much, Hailey. Thank you so much for joining us, for being a part of this, and for having the conversation.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Hope
it's been a pleasure. Thanks everybody for watching, and thank you, Hailey.